Alright, let's get a move on, Spark. We've got a lot more painting to do.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we'll be taking a look at 10 fantastic PlayStation games that Sony just didn't give any attention to. Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Pursuit Force.
How come Pursuit Force sent a Sally like you to do a soldier's job?
The PSP didn't get a ton of brand new games from Sony first party. The two biggest ones we saw were the Patapon and Loco Roco series, both of which came from Japan Studio. However, one PSP series that is often forgotten about is Pursuit Force. Developed by the short-lived Big Big Studios, this game combined vehicular combat with third-person shooter mechanics that allowed players to jump across vehicles, hijack them, give chase while shooting, and more. It's a high-octane action movie in the palm of your hands. You might face some cruel difficulty spikes, but you better believe this is worth checking out on PS5 and PS4 if you haven't already.
The Dawn's got a big head start. Get a move on!
Puppeteer.
Grizzlestein. Did it work? Well...
Poor Japan Studio was constantly getting kicked down and ignored by the hardcore PlayStation fans, as well as Sony's own executives and marketing team. Case in point, Puppeteer. This platformer was unique in its stage theater theme, along with its clever use of interactive objects to traverse. With Kotaro's magical pair of scissors, you could cut fabric and threads to uncover hidden pathways or reach secret collectibles. Unfortunately, it went ignored for two reasons. One, it was released only a couple of months before the PlayStation 4, and two, it was mainly marketed as a game built for 3D TVs that made your PS3 games more immersive. Yeah, no one was buying PS3 stuff at this point, and nobody was buying a brand new 3D TV. Not when a brand new console was just right around the corner. Dead Nation. Prior to Sony's acquisition of them in 2021, Housemarque was known for a handful of titles, one of them being Dead Nation. Launched on the PlayStation 3 before Climax Studios ported it to PS4 and Vita, Dead Nation was a simple zombie shooter that encouraged players to go nuts. Try to rack up consecutive kills, nail multiple deaths with environmental hazards, anything you could do to ensure your survival, and paint the town red. But one of the coolest parts was seeing the global statistics of the rest of the player base, making it a fun arcadey title that gave us the feeling of playing with thousands of other players at the same time. Though it is possible to play this on PS5, the technical stability is unpredictable, so if you buy the commercially available PS4 version, just know what you're getting into beforehand. Erica.
Erica Mason, I've waited a long time to speak to you. Did you like my gift?
Who is this?
This was the final game ever made by London Studio, and they co-developed it with fellow UK-based studio Flavorworks. It was even published by Sony themselves, yet it couldn't get more than a few social media posts to get in front of people. Erica is an interactive movie game that tells the story about a young woman uncovering the dark secrets of her occult family. We won't lie, it's no Until Dawn. But even so, you might find a hidden gem of the PlayStation family with its gripping narrative, disturbing visuals, and haunting impact.
I'll have to put it straight in her heart. Toby! Run, Kirsty!
Mod Nation Racers.
Okay, you won yourself a boombox. So what? Ain't like fans are running up asking for autographs or nothing.
While Nintendo continued trucking along with Mario Kart yet again, Sony dove into the kart racing genre once more with this title from United Front Games. Basically, this was the kart racer to end all kart racers, as it allowed you to create your own drivers, karts, and courses entirely from scratch, all done with an intuitive and flexible customization system. Unfortunately, it crashed and burned upon launch. May 2010 was a notorious month for racing games, as Sony, Activision, and Disney Interactive all launched ModNation Racers, Blur, and Split Second respectively within a week apart from each other. All three games sold poorly, with none of the publishers wishing to continue their respective IPs. Well, Sony did try turning ModNation into a handheld series with ugly PSP and PS Vita renditions, but neither of them panned out. Ape Quest. Fans will rave about the main games and maybe even the minigame collection Ape Escape Academy, but very, very rarely will you ever hear anybody talk about Ape Quest. Ape Quest was a new formula for our mischievous monkeys, an RPG done in the style of Dokapon Kingdom, where you take part in battles, encounters, and even minigames to level up your character. The only difference is that Ape Quest is single player only. Fair warning, it might get repetitive when you play for too long. But even so, this was one game in the Ape Escape franchise that is largely and unfairly ignored. Starhawk.
It all started with a spark. A flash of blue gold. Rift energy.
Of all the PS3 games that never got its flowers, Starhawk was the game that almost everyone ignored despite being one of the coolest games on the console. This was a third-person shooter that combined RTS mechanics by giving players the power to call down buildings from the sky. Not only could you call them down in the middle of battle, you could even try to drop them onto enemies and insta-kill them by doing so. Why waste a bullet when you can just squash your target by dropping your armory on them? It was an absurd amount of power we never thought we'd needed, and that alone is why Starhawk is among the best PS3 games.
Come on, Emmett. Let me drop something heavy on him.
Gravity Rush. As Japan Studio struggled in the 2010s, one IP they desperately wanted to make into a thing was Gravity Rush. Here, players took control of a young woman named Kat, who wields the power to defy gravity. It was perhaps the most unique game Japan Studio had created since Shadow of the Colossus, yet no one, not even Sony, gave it the time of day. Gravity Rush only sold a few 100,000 copies. Though it was given a second shot with a bigger sequel made specifically for PS4, Gravity Rush 2 performed even worse than the original game, and Sony barely gave it a marketing campaign. RIP in peace, Gravity Rush. Concrete Genie.
Wake up, freak!
Wow, what's for lunch, Ash? Oops.
Now, if you want to see a game that received absolutely no attention from Sony whatsoever, well, show of hands. How many of you have played Concrete Genie? Developed by the short-lived internal studio Pixelopus, Concrete Genie puts players in the shoes of Ash, a kid who comes across a mysterious creature that grants him a magical brush to bring his paintings to life. With a unique art style and imaginative blend of open-world game mechanics and art creation tools, this game could have been a sleeper hit had Sony gotten behind it. However, the corporation decided that Concrete Genie's launch day was just the perfect day to start talking about the PlayStation 5. And so, all of the media attention and all of the public's attention and the media's attention got swallowed up. Now, the game is nothing more than that obscure Easter egg in Astrobot and Astro's Playroom. Champions of Norrath, Realms of EverQuest. Imagine this. You launch a game like Champions of Norrath. It sells 1 million copies, you make a sequel, botch the title to make it unrecognizable, then never speak of either game ever again. That is how Champions of Norrath was treated, yet it was one of the best games to grace the PlayStation 2. This was the action RPG to play, with its thrilling combat, exceptional story, and flexible character creation system. And somehow, Sony sabotaged its potential with the most generic title for a sequel, Champions Return to Arms. Yeah, tells us everything we need to know back in the day when the market depended on eye-catching titles and box art. Since all that happened, Champions of Norrath has been left stranded on the PlayStation 2 as it was never ported forward in any way, shape, or form. It's just gone. Thanks, Sony. Were there any PlayStation games that you felt people didn't know about or that Sony flat out ignored? If you couldn't tell already, I'm still pretty peeved about Champions of Norrath still sitting on a near 30-year-old console. But let us know down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.